My dad never gave me money while my friends were like running around the beach during spring break, partying, whatever. Like I'm working.
While all my friends were kind of out partying, drinking, and doing all kinds of other stuff, I was kind of at home. This life, you get out what you put in.
You're a developer, general contractor, you're a realtor also.
I'm not much of a sit-down visual reader. Podcasts are definitely a great way to go to pick up some information.
I think it was like 2018. I moved to Houston, and that's where I started like my journey of like being an electrician. Right, I had my licenses, but I didn't know anybody here.
It's very powerful, especially if you use it the right way.
We were talking a little bit before the podcast, and what I told you was like for somebody that's trying to find somebody different.
Yeah.
Like they'll find that and they'll be like, oh shit, like this guy's different.
It kind of started out to when I was a lot of them really wouldn't give out much information. They would try and get you into.
You're there searching and you just don't find like really any information. You see this beautiful house and you're like, oh, hey, I want that house. Was there a mistake that you made in the beginning that cost you a lot of money? Ali the Builder, welcome to Construction Royalty Podcast.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, man, no problem. Well, I've been watching what you're doing lately. You know, I think we met like through Instagram. We never actually met in person, but I've been like watching your content and seeing like what you've been doing. But people that don't know that, you know, maybe watching it or listening to this, just let them know who Ali is.
Yes, sir. Definitely. So, yeah, thank you for having me on this podcast. Essentially here in Houston, I'm a small scale general contractor, builder, developer here in the Houston area. And, overall, got my start in the field through school. Originally went for civil engineering. Found out soon after that engineering is not a route I want to pursue. Ended up switching my major over to construction science. Then ended up working as a custom home project manager here in the city, doing, multi-million-dollar homes in River Oaks, Bel Air, Memorial City, Briar Forest, so on, etc. And then ended up working for a developer on the east end of downtown for a few years. And started my company kind of on the side back in 2020. And over the course of years, I was able to grow and scale that. And then, end of 2021 went off on my own and been on my own ever since. So
yeah,
been a great process and journey so far.
Yeah. So whenever you were, being raised to, eventually go to college, were you around like, family members that were in construction, or were you just like civil engineer, like that's something I want to go and try to do, like pursue this like construction industry?
Yeah, so that's actually interesting. I have no one in my family that's been in construction.
Yeah.
I believe it started probably at an early young age. My favorite set of toys used to be my construction set.
Yeah. Like tools, like little pouch or what?
No, not even just like a dump truck, excavator, and all that whatnot. Like I used to get on the stairs and kind of act like it was a excavation site.
Yeah.
So I guess that's probably where it may have started. I also grew up on the East Coast in Jersey with seeing skyscrapers go from, literally a concept to the real deal and the full-blown thing. It's been always interesting to me as a child. And then also Bob the Builder used to be my favorite show too as well. So that was, I guess, at that young age, that's kind of when I kind of figured out what I wanted to get into. And then growing up, I didn't have any exposure to construction. Moved here to Texas in 2010, and at the time it was growing pretty rapidly, especially suburbs. So seeing areas like Katy, Sugar Land, Richmond, Fulshire back then, Cypress, and growing to these massive big cities. I thought civil engineering was the way to go, and I saw that degree plan. I'm like, I'm not going through this, so ended up making my switch then.
Yeah. What made you switch? Because I was going for electrical engineering.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sweet.
And I was there for like a year, and then I had a class. I think it was like 7 in the morning or 8 in the morning or something, like some stupid early. And I was falling asleep in the class, and I was like, this is not for me, because it just wasn't interesting for me. So when I was falling asleep in the class, that made me realize like this is not the route that I want to do.
Yeah, for me it was the degree plan. I'm pretty smart, but math is not my best topic and subject, So for me, I see it as like I could do real world math, but I can't sit here and figure out the halfway distance from here to the moon on December 21st in 2026. That's something that really doesn't interest me.
Yeah.
So seeing a degree plan and how it's very stacked and loaded with math was something I just didn't want to move forward with. And I'm sure you saw this too as well, going in that engineering building sometimes, seeing people camp there for a few days and, kind of just be studying and cramming and gearing for the FE and the PE. That was just something I wanted to make a shift from myself. And, between civil engineering and construction, they're pretty similar. They cover different aspects of essentially the same project, but being more hands-on and in the field and on the site and making it happen, that's something I kind of gravitated towards a little bit more. So,
Yeah. And from your experience, like in school and then coming out of school and working for somebody like actually because there's a lot of people that didn't go to school to, do what you do.
correct.
What do you think would be the best experience like for somebody new, or like looking back in your journey, like what do you think you gained like the best insights and experience and, like on site or working, like working on site or at school?
Yeah, I would say for the overwhelming majority, it was on site. Being in school, they kind of teach you more the fundamentals, the basics, and critical thinking
Okay.
skills, and software too as well. But overall, it's vastly day and night compared to when you're actually in the site and in the field. So I actually learned a tremendous amount my first year being a project manager and going through the whole construction process and walking houses with inspectors and homeowners and clients and investors. Learned so much on the fly. I feel like that was very instrumental to being able to develop in the construction field, and then also just seeking external resources such as like podcasts, audiobooks, growing my collection library of that to where really, you're able to grow at a quicker rate, and learn more and, just continual education. In all fields, healthcare, finance, logistics is all beneficial, but I feel like in construction, just constantly learning the best practices, the best ways to operate, the best ways to streamline, coordination, time management, it goes a long way. So,
Yeah. And say for somebody like brand new coming out of high school wants to do with the path that that you're on right now, would you suggest that he goes to college and learn, like you're saying, the basics, the softwares that they use, the terms and stuff like that, or just go in directly and try to work for somebody that's already like where they want to go?
yeah, so for that, I kind of believe it's on a case-by-case, person-by-person basis. We're all different and unique in our own separate ways. So kind of like having that sit down with yourself and that evaluation and kind of figuring out which route you want to go. I know some people that would benefit more going the college route, and then I know there's other people that would benefit more just going straight into the field or, taking on an apprenticeship role or anything like that. Myself, I'm more of a hands-on visual learner. So, looking back at it, I would have probably preferred to get some kind of construction experience before going to school. But at the same time, I don't regret going to school and anything like that. So I believe it's kind of like on a case-by-case basis. And it kind of it's based on how that person wants to go about their career. And, I feel like being involved in the field is a good way to even see if you even want to be in that field or not before, pursuing a degree, getting it, and now, 5-10 years down the line, the stress is too much or the pressures of construction are too much and now want to pivot to a different field or so on. So, because the stress level is high. So,
Yeah, I do agree with that. With like having to taste it first, before you like dive into it. Like for me, like I grew up working for my dad, in the electrical field, right? Like new construction homes, like down where I live in the valley, and so I got to taste of it like since I was 10 years old, like little kid running around. I was tasting it all the way to high school. I was like, I do want to pursue it. I don't want to pursue it. And then eventually, like, I decided to pursue it, but I didn't go to like school for it. I studied on the side. And then I just applied to take the test. I took it, the whole thing. Like, I had to take one test, the next one, until I got the master's license. And, I didn't go to traditional school for it, but like you're saying, like I was tasting it like my entire life.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I graduated or during high school, like I was taking these tests,
Mm-hmm.
you
That's
know, like
good.
I was studying. So
Yeah.
like I got a head start before everybody,
Yeah.
you know, but I did get the taste of like,
Yeah.
you know, going out doing the work and managing the stress and stuff and seeing my
Mm-hmm.
dad run around and talking to everybody. And,
Yeah.
you know, before I actually decided, do I want to do it? Do I don't want to do it?
Yeah.
You know, so I do think that's important for a lot of people.
Yeah, it's the best way to go. And then through that process too as well, you learn so much.
Yeah.
And it really helps and carries you with the fundamentals going on through the rest of your career. So yeah.
Yeah.
That's what's up.
One thing that for me, and I know a lot of people that grew up like in the construction, is like
Mm-hmm.
learning how to work hard, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like at a young age, like they teach you got to work for your money.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like my dad never gave me money; he made me work for my money.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so Saturdays, like I would go and work for him. Spring break, I would go work for him. Summer vacations, I'd go work for him. Christmas, I'd go work for him.
Yep.
You know, so while my friends are like running around the beach during spring break, partying, whatever, like I'm working.
Yeah.
And then like on that Saturday, like I'll go to the beach. You know,
Yep.
just one day, but
Mm-hmm.
they're over there the whole week.
Yeah.
You know, so I had to like give up like those things, right? Like the sacrifices to work to get money, because
Yep.
for me, like just wasn't handed to me. So
Yeah, I had a
that's one thing
period of
I learned.
time that I went through something like that too, as
Yeah.
well myself. Back when I was a full-time project manager and trying to get my company started on the background too, as well. It was a lot of nights I had to sacrifice, kind of like staying in, trying to get ahead and just use that extra time because we all have the same 24 hours a day.
Mhm.
So while all my friends were kind of out partying, drinking, and doing all kinds of other stuff, I was kind of at home just learning, helping get systems set up in place and prospecting and just putting in those extra hours and compiled over 52 weeks and 365 plus days makes a difference after when you look back and reflect on it. So I definitely agree. In this life, you get out what you put in. So that extra time that you really dedicated towards that pays off at the end every single time. So
Yeah, dude. So you're saying like you're a developer, you know, general contractor, you're a realtor also,
yes, correct.
and do
I
you
forgot to
you
mention
still do I was looking at your website. You do consulting.
that.
Still.
Small scale, correct. Yes.
Yeah. So how did you get like from wanting to build houses to everything else, where you're also a realtor and then you consult for other people?
Yeah, definitely. So I got my license on the realtor end back in 2022. Basically, I just saw it as an opportunity to get, since I was already kind of exposed to the real estate side of things on the, land acquisition, the whole development process, the construction process, and then selling it. Figured it wouldn't hurt just to get it. And I do recall my first year, I closed 9 transactions as a realtor, and I've had it for a little over 2 years. And I've closed 20 now.
Are they just yours or other people's too?
A mix of both here and there. Just, essentially finding out what services someone needs, and then if I'm able to provide value in that. By me being on the construction side of things, I can kind of analyze land deals or acquisition deals, kind of estimate renovation costs or estimate construction costs, and kind of just help provide a different dimension to the client at the end of the day. So overall, that's been working out pretty well. And also added flexibility in terms of, like a land acquisition deal or some kind of like if I'm looking for a fixer-upper or anything like that. And on the consulting side, just coming out with a different product for the market. I do know that there's a niche market of people that have a little bit of construction exposure, but they don't have the full extensive construction background needed to successfully complete a project. So at that point, being able to bring on contractors, trades, vendors, expertise and knowledge dealing with city inspectors or, just client mediation, things like that. It's been successful too as well, to where, essentially if someone wants to become their own builder or their own GC or contractor, I always try to assess the situation and kind of see where they're at and recommend what's best for them. Whether, they need a builder or GC or they're able to put the project together themselves, and then from there I'll kind of cater a program to them to, where it comes out valuable. So we have had a few consulting clients this year, and overall those projects turned out pretty successful by having that right guidance there and being a valuable resource. So
Yeah. Did you have somebody helping you out whenever you started on your own?
no. Did have a few people in the field that I kind of leaned to, but not a true mentor, just because, as you know, in the construction field, it's so fast-paced, so moving. So a lot of kind of like what I learned was self-taught. But, that's definitely a good way to go by having someone there that kind of can hold your hand through it. And it's kind of hard in construction just because a lot of people either transition out of the field completely into something else, or they're so stuck in the day-to-day where it's kind of hard to, kind of hold someone's hand through the whole day. So.
Yeah, because I think because it's like such big projects, right? Like so many moving parts to even just a small house.
Yeah.
Even
that small house has every single component of a school and so on. So
I think if you want to like actually be there holding somebody's hand, which I know a few people that do it, but they charge a lot of money for it, and you can see why, right? Because there's a lot to it.
Yeah.
And I think it makes sense to like some certain extent, but like I think, like you're saying, it is important for some people, I guess, to like have that guidance because they're just like lost,
Correct. And, nowadays it's pretty easy to network. So using resources like LinkedIn, Instagram, even YouTube to come across people within the field that, offer things like that. And then also with the resources now online, such as like audiobooks, actual books. I mean, I'm not much of a sit-down visual reader, but I am pretty invested into audiobooks just due to like driving around job sites, going for a run or a bike ride or at the gym. It just works out a bit better for me. But, audiobooks, YouTube, podcasts, they're definitely a great way to go to pick up some information and compiled over a good amount of time frame. It definitely adds up. So
yeah, for sure. Yeah, and one thing that I was thinking about the other day was like basically how we met, Instagram. And like when I initially, like at the very beginning, I think it was like 2018, I moved to Houston, and that's where I started like my journey of like being an electrician, right? I had my licenses, but I didn't know anybody here. I just had a family here. So I was like, how do I meet people?
Yeah.
It was like Instagram, right? Like I spent all my time on Instagram, basically. That's where I post everything.
Yep.
So like I would just go on there and like search like, Houston builders and like see who pops up. Like you pop up, I look at your content. Oh, he has solid content. I like it. Follow.
Yeah.
Get out, go to the next one. Oh, he also has solid content.
Yeah.
Boom, follow.
Yep.
No, not this guy. This guy, yes.
Yeah.
Or when I would go look for like subcontractors, same thing.
Yeah.
Houston landscapers, like, oh, this guy does solid work outside.
Yep.
I like that. Follow.
Yeah.
And then like you just start reacting to their posts, and that's how I met a lot of people here.
Yeah, same.
Just like other builders, like other electricians, electricians, builders in Austin when I lived there.
Yep.
Even just like out of state too.
Yeah.
You start building like this like network, right, of like other like with
Correct.
you like other builders in other states.
Yep.
And stuff like that. So it's like, I mean, social media is like an easy, just like quick, like easy thing to use to network.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
People,
yeah, and that's why I put a good amount of effort towards marketing and kind of building that brand and that online presence. Because it has helped me meet a tremendous amount of people here in the city, and also other markets around the country too, as well, such as like Miami, California, Atlanta, New York, to where, I wouldn't have met those people or been exposed to those people if it wasn't for, reaching out to them on Instagram and following them and seeing what they're doing, and they're seeing what I'm doing. And it's kind of like, although we were strangers to begin with, now we're close friends. And it's like, it's very powerful, especially if you use it the right way and showcase your projects in the right way. So, I'm all for it, and I'm also trying to get a little bit more involved on LinkedIn too as well. Yeah. It is a different crowd on there. typically older, more corporate, but it's been panning out pretty well so far too as well. So
Yeah. Yeah. One thing I did want to um, like say to you, or what I we're talking a little bit before the podcast, and what I told you was like the reels that you make of your construction, right? Like it's different.
mhm.
Like you have that transition of like the living room, like the exact same walls,
Mhm.
the transition between the rough in and then the final.
Yes,
You know, so you can actually like visually see that it's the same wall before and after.
yes,
You know, like you have that different kind of content.
hmm
And another thing that I noticed was like I was going through the website,
hmm
your custom building website,
hmm
and I like that it has like very like detailed like laid out of like the
hmm
pre-construction phase,
yep,
you know, and like the steps
yep,
and a detailed description of each step,
yep,
and then like during the construction, like phase one, phase two, phase three, right? Like
hmm
and very detailed of what goes on during those phases.
yep,
And even like the consulting too, like it shows like how many hours people get
yeah,
for which package.
yeah,
Like it's pretty detailed. Like it was long, it was a lot of information that I know a lot of people would get overwhelmed sometimes.
yeah,
But
definitely,
as like for somebody that's trying to find somebody different,
yeah,
like they'll find that and they'll be like, oh shit, like this guy's different.
yeah.
Like the company's different.
hmm
You know, and what made you want to like post or put all that like very detailed with like knowing the fact that not other builders do that.
Yeah, definitely. So for me, it kind of started out to when I was kind of working on getting everything set up when, I was kind of younger off and kind of like the first few things I did was kind of find how to position myself in the market and what I can do to help improve that market too as well. So, based on my research of like what a lot of other builders were doing and offering, I kind of saw a reoccurring theme where a lot of builders would not really, and I kind of understand that construction is very broad and no two projects are ever really exactly the
Yeah,
same.
no.
So a lot of them really wouldn't give out much information. They would try and get you into like either a contract or some kind of
Hmm.
consultation first. And I feel like by providing a lot of insight and information beforehand, you can kind of have the client make a better informed decision as to who they want to proceed with. So that's kind of what I had envisioned when starting out. And overall, the feedback has been pretty well receptive towards that. But yeah, just by positioning myself to a point where, giving as much information as I can up front can really help the client make a better informed decision as to who they want to proceed with at the end of the day. And, we're also in the age of technology to where, that same information that's on the website, if they want to go find out more about it, it can save them time down the line by like, hey, if you're made aware that you need to have your fixture selected, well, if you're in a very high demanding corporate job or something like that, you may not have the time for that. You may want to look into hiring an interior designer. So as you would know, by having an interior designer on a project, it streamlines, a lot of things for the client along with clearing out that gray area for, both of us per se, right? So, if someone's very fond on sconce lighting and they want 25 sconce lights throughout the house and hallways and bathrooms and whatnot, that's kind of information we need to know before we put together what's going to cost to do the rough and electrical or something.
Yeah.
So just things like that. The more information you get squared away, the more smoother projects typically tend to run. And I kind of just saw that being a way to differentiate myself starting off, and so far it's been working pretty well. So
Yeah. And have you had people tell you that just because like your website's so detailed and like everything that like it like how you're saying like it phase one, phase two, like
mhm.
they know exactly what they're getting or what's going on during those phases. Have you had clients come to you and be like, hey, I really like this and basically this is
Yes,
why we chose you?
yeah, if you have.
Yeah.
Overall, it's just also helping get the foot in the door too as well, and then by pretty much everything pre-construction, it ends up being a valuable tool to have. So
Yeah. Yeah, because like for me, I feel like if I go to probably some builders are like this where if you go to the website, you're there searching and you just don't find like really any information.
Yeah, pretty vague and open, and
Yeah, like
you know,
mainly they just like show their pictures of their bills and hoping that like you see this beautiful house and you're like, oh, hey, I want that house.
yeah,
You
there's
know,
a lot
reach
more
out,
to it
yeah,
than that.
and you reach out to them just because of like the looks. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And then like once like you're saying like they got you in that they want to get you the contract and you know this and that.
yeah,
You know, so I guess they try to like just capture you like with the beautiful house that they build.
yeah, yeah, or withheld or gatekeep information. But you know, I get it from that end of like you don't want to put too much time into pre-construction, or you know, put too much time dealing with someone that may or may not be your client. 'Cause, you know, we all have lost jobs before, and you know, just trying to be mindful of time. But at the same time, it's also like you know, just providing value as much as possible and just helping evolve the landscape for the better, in my opinion. So
Yeah. And do you do any houses that are like your houses and then you sell them and then like you're the realtor like to sell them?
on the small scale, yeah. So I
Okay.
also do work with investors too as well. So essentially, it depending on the project, on who acquires the land, does the construction. If I'm working with an investor and they have a realtor that they've been working with, typically, you know, I don't overstep them or anything like that. Or if they want me to list it, then I could do that too as well. Or if it's something that's personal on mine, then I clearly have the the option listed. Or
Yeah.
if it's something where I'm too busy at the moment, I can have someone listed too as well. So it's
What do
just
you
an
what do you
added.
prefer? Like for you to like build your own house and then list it yourself, or for a client to come in and be like, "Hey, I have this land. I want to build, a house," and then they hire you to be the GC.
It's typically better if I'm doing everything myself.
Yeah.
But we do work with investors too as well on some of our spec builds. So it kind of just depends on the project on a case by case basis. But in construction, the less people you kind of got to operate with,
Yeah.
the smoother projects typically run.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, whether it's a custom spec build or anything like that, we're able to get it done. So
Yeah. Cool. And I mean, New Year's tomorrow, man. What do you have going on? What are your plans that you can say for this next year? Do you have any?
well, and definitely enjoying the slower period now.
Yeah.
Pretty much every single year, things always slow down going into Q4, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's. But overall, there's a few bigger developments in the pipeline, like possible 8-unit development, 6-unit development, another 3-unit
Because you do a
development.
lot of duplexes, right?
No, these are actually townhomes.
Oh, okay.
They're just bigger parcels of land compared to
Oh,
doing two-pack townhomes because most lots here in Houston are 5,000 square feet. So the most common configurations are either like 2 front-loader townhomes or a common shared driveway with 3 townhomes on it. So transition more into larger land acquisition deals and bigger developments is the way I'm trying to go for 2025 and 2026.
yeah.
Just because management wise, it's easier to do more projects in a condensed like lot compared to like you're trying to do 2 houses here, 1 house here, 1 house here, and then now it's all over town, and it eats up your day pretty quickly. If you got to go from Memorial City to East
Yeah.
Downtown to Champions Forest to
Spend the whole day driving.
Meyerland, yeah, and typically Houston traffic is not fun to deal with.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
What part of town are you looking at, or what part of town do you think's like I guess like the best, investment as like the city keeps growing?
Yeah, so it kind of depends on what you're looking for as an end product. Typically, we target lots in the inside the 610 loop or surrounding vicinity. So a few hot areas right now is like Spring Branch, Independence Heights, Fifth Ward, like the East River area, Third Ward, and just a few neighboring areas where there's starting to be a lot of revitalization in the neighborhoods.
So say like if you're
Um,
building, so in a lot, like if you get one of these lots like 5,000 square foot, you can put 2 duplexes. Can you put 2 duplexes, or it depends like
no, that's
where?
that's gonna be tight.
Yeah.
2 units, you could like do 1 duplex on a 5,000 square foot lot, or like 2 single families or 3 single families on that 5,000 square foot lot. But now if you go up to possibly 6,000 square feet on a lot size or higher, you can try to fit 2 duplexes on that. But it kind of, you got to deal with building line setbacks and restrictions and possible easements sometimes when it comes to like power or sewer, gas, so on, etc. So it's kind of on a case-by-case basis, and then also deed restrictions too as well.
Yeah. Depends on the land, really, right?
Yeah, because some areas, duplexes are not allowed, and other areas, they have lot minimum requirements to where you can't replat past a certain smaller size. So these are all things to look out for before acquiring the land and moving forward with that lot purchase. So.
Yeah. Was there a mistake that you made in the beginning that cost you a lot of money?
Not a mistake, but I would say just not knowing much about floodplain for starting out and all the added infrastructure costs involved with that. So same thing, it's kind of on a case-by-case basis depending on the lot. But anytime you're in a 100-year floodplain, you have additional civil drainage that you need to accommodate for. And not having that right information up front or that right quote up front can end up being costly. And what trips up a lot of other builders too as well, I've seen is like utilities. So the GIMS maps, sometimes not the most accurate. So situations like water lines not being where they're supposed to be, sewer or gas not being available for a property can trip up a lot of people. So just checking for utilities all before closing on a lot. Checking for deed restrictions, making sure you're not buying a lot that's not, forbidden from being replatted or forbidden from like having a duplex or multiple units on it, can go a long way before you close on that lot.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, you don't want to buy it and then just figure out that there's a lot of things wrong with it, or you can't, you don't, that vision that you had, like, it's not going to come.
Yeah, like you don't want to buy it for a specific use, like,
Might be cheap for a reason, you know what I mean?
It's typically, in Houston, it's typically cheap for a reason.
Yeah.
If anything.
Nobody wants it.
Yeah. So I always kind of put that out there. I'm like, yeah, if you're looking for lots and, you're just scanning the MLS and you see a lot that's priced super cheap, there's probably a reason why. Might not have road access, might not have power, might not have sewer, gas, might be unincorporated, might be deed restricted, might be floodway, to where you can't build in it. So it could be a lot of things. And, the more information you have going into the deal, the better off typically everyone is. So.
Yeah. And so, like, going back to the consulting, so if somebody buys like one of these packages for your consultation, like, is this the kind of stuff that you go over with them, or it depends like what package? Like, if you want to like explain your packages and kind of like what they get.
It just depends on what stage of the process they're at.
So what if it's somebody, say like me, I've been in the electrical field, so I pretty much know, like, I see every stage go, like from framing, to where like the MEP people go in, to like the installation, sheetrock, like painting. Like, I already kind of know that process, so I'm like fairly familiar with the construction process. Yeah. But what if I want to start building my own houses, which I am, but like I'm gonna start building one in down in the valley. Nice. Right down in South Texas. It's a small, like 1,500 square foot. Nice. This year we got like the plans already and everything. Okay. But like if I want to move to Houston and I want to start building here, and like I pay you for one of these packages. Yeah. What, like, how do we start that?
Yeah, definitely. So, it kind of just depends on what stage that you want to get started at and move forward with. So, like, let's say, in this situation, it would be pre-construction, pre-land acquisition to where, kind of like just the information I gave previously, being aware of these certain things and then targeting specific areas where, hey, we can acquire a lot in this area or something like that. So being able to look at a lot, analyze what your cost per lot is, depending on how many units you're going to put on it, estimating construction costs through a itemized proposal. That way you see how much for foundation, framing, roofing, cornice, windows, sheetrock, pretty much A to Z. And then also accounting for your soft costs and your hard costs too as well, such as like plans, permits, the replat, impact fees, you know, your holding costs, loan origination fees, and then also the things off the sale of the property too as well, realtor commissions, title, taxes, escrow,
Everything, yeah.
insurance, and then kind of looking at the deal and then seeing how the numbers pan out. And then, you know, if they look good, all right, this is a lot we can proceed with. And then, you know, I provide the resources such as like the survey company work with, a few architectural recommendations, few engineers, the replatter, things like that, to where, you know, you can work hand in hand with them and learn through the process. And, you know, once the plans are approved by the city, ready to get started with construction, now, you know, can help pair you up with a few lenders to where they can help you through the construction process and everything like that. And then depending on how much you want to be involved on the construction side of things, we can, you know, if you want to take it on fully, completely, and be hands-on, and you just need help in, you know, here and there on like an hourly basis, or, you know, like, hey, I got an inspector coming in for a foundation. I just want to make sure everything's all done correctly and right. You know, can you come in and kind of help assess it for me? Or, hey, I'm having this situation where, you know, we're not passing the firewall inspection on this house, and, you know, we need to kind of find a way to get through it to keep things moving. I could be involved on that regard. Or if you're like, hey, I need someone full, hands-off, turnkey, take care of the whole process, and, you know, I'll work on my other business venture here, we could do that too as well. So it kind of just depends on the client and what they're looking to gain out of the project at the end of the day. Because some people want to be pretty hands-on, learn the process. That way they can go off and do it in the future and replicate it and grow and scale it. And other people are like, hey, you know, I got other business ventures that I do. I can't really take care of none of the day-to-day stuff. Just take care of everything and, you know, provide me a daily or weekly update. So, you know, overall it's been pretty successful, and kind of just depends on the client at the end of the day. But it still goes back to, you know, being a contractor that provides value and being a useful, just a person of value, and being as useful as much as I can. So,
yeah. How many people do you have at one time that you consult for? Or do you have a limit?
It varies, but on a yearly basis, this year has been about, I would say 5. Yeah, 5.
Yeah. So I imagine there's only like so much that you can.
Yeah, there's
take,
only so
right?
much time in a day.
Or like so many people that you can take. Like, you know, there has to be like a limit, I would imagine, right?
Yes.
Because then you're like, I don't have like enough time to get to everybody.
Yeah,
Also,
on top of all
yeah.
day-to-day stuff, on top of, you know, a life outside of construction too as well.
Yeah, yeah.
It's we're kind of limited on time,
Yeah.
but yeah, I would say maybe max would be 6 to 8.
Okay.
But, you know, anything less than that should be fine. And, you know, depending on what stage people are in the process, it may or may not be as time intensive too as well. You know, like if someone's in pre-construction or, you know, pre-land acquisition, it's not going to be as time intensive as someone in the middle of a framing process, or, you know, now you got to procure like windows, exterior doors,
Yeah.
the cornice, start lining up all the MEPs, get your roofer lined up. Like, it's way more time intensive at that part than it is in another part. So it kind of just depends.
Yeah. And what, like the size of houses that you build, what's kind of like the range that you try to stick with? Is there one, or you just like whatever the client wants?
It depends on the product type. So if it's a spec build, it will typically be anywhere from like 1,700 to about 2,500 square feet. And if it's a custom home product, it will typically be 3,500 square feet and up. So currently right now we're working on one that's close to 5,000 square feet, about 4,800 square feet in Spring Branch. And then earlier this year in Alvin, that one was about 6,300 square feet covered, about 4,100 square feet livable. So it kind of just depends on the product type and the end goal of the house at the end of the day. So
So something like that, like the 6,000 square feet, like how long does that take to build?
so far we're at about 9 or 10 months or so.
Yeah.
We have
So it's
had a
almost a year.
slowdown. Well, we always experience slowdowns around Thanksgiving,
Yeah.
Christmas, New Year's, and the days are shorter too as well. That's something a lot of people typically don't
Mm.
really account for. So, in the summer, the sun goes down at like 7, 8 p.m. Crews are able to get more work done. But going into November, December, I mean, some
6,
days, hey, 5
5:30.
o'clock, you hit
Yeah.
the road trying to go home and the sun's already down. And, at that point, you lose a few hours of production each day times 5, 6 days a week, times how many weeks in the month. So,
Yeah.
all those different factors do lead to a uh, slow down. But we are expected to wrap it up in the next 4 weeks. So
Yeah. Dude, that time like messes me up.
yeah,
Because I do go to the gym after work.
hmm
So I'll leave about 5:30, so I can get there around like before 6, right? It's
hmm
like 20-minute drive. But it's like I'm driving and it's like it's already dark,
yeah,
5:30, and it's making me sleepy. I'm driving and I'm sleepy. I'm like, why am I so sleepy?
yeah,
It's like
yeah,
that thing just messes with your brain, right? Like,
yeah. You're, I think your circadian rhythm or something
yeah,
like that or whatnot. Um, yeah, I definitely agree, and I feel like there's also a lot more energy during the summer months,
yeah, yeah, for
and
sure.
that's definitely a reason why. So
Yeah, especially with the weather too. It's like
yeah,
once it get
yeah,
cold, it starts getting cloudy and stuff, and it's like you can just like feel everything. Like it's just slow.
yeah,
Like
hmm
throughout every day, like the vibe's slow. It's
yep,
like I don't know, like you just feel the slow, and like you're saying, like in the summer, everybody's just like hustling,
yep.
out on the
I agree.
roofs, and
Yep,
everything's just crazy.
I agree.
Yeah. One thing that I did want to ask you and like bring up is like, do you have a project manager? Do you have anybody helping you kind of manage these builds, like so many builds that you have going on?
Yeah, so one project manager and one VA, virtual assistant.
Okay.
And then kind of like depending on the workload, we can expand or contract from there. But 'cause, there's no way to kind of be everywhere all at
Yeah.
once. So with the various projects going on, and like the different inspectors that have to be met, like here in the city of Houston, they'll give you a 2 hour window, but sometimes that creates conflicts and clashes with other pre-scheduled meetings. So, just helping get things done day to day and kind of push through and make sure things are being accounted for goes a long way. So,
Yeah. Dude, in Austin, it's bad. It's like, I'll be there after 12, and it's like, what time after 12? It's like, well, I can't give you a time window.
oh, that's horrible.
Yeah, so you just got to be there at 12 and then just wait, hoping they show up, soon.
That's
But
horrible.
sometimes like I'd be waiting there like 4 3 4 hours,
Yeah.
and
Eats up your day. Yeah.
man,
There's
it's,
some
it's
departments like right away here in the city of Houston. They don't give a 2 hour window, but any other department like electrical, plumbing,
yeah, they
yeah,
will.
yeah, they'll give you a 2 hour window. So at least at that point, if they say 10 or 12, you kind of know to be in the area or at least have the site open or someone working there
Yeah.
or someone there compared to, yeah, we'll be there between 8 to 5. And it's like, oh,
Yeah,
that's the whole day.
yeah.
So, you know, it,
And then they'll call you when they're there, like, hey, I'm here, like expect you to show up, around the corner.
or
And
they
it's like,
won't
dude,
call you and they'll just fail you over like, oh, plans are not on site, even though they're right in a
yeah,
cabinet or right on a countertop and they didn't look for it, or
yeah, they do that.
just
Yeah,
permits not accessible, permits right here stapled on this garage stud, and it's like, you know, um, yeah, it's a lot.
yeah,
It's a lot going on. So
yeah. At this stage in your construction, career, you looking for anybody specific, looking to help you, grow or scale, or like any like specific person that does anything. Like maybe they're listening, maybe they're watching, and they're like, hey, like I can do that for this guy.
yeah, so it kind of just depends on workload. It's kind of cyclical to where it'll ramp up. Typically, most years around mid to end of January, projects start picking up and permits get approved a little quicker and things ramp up with the economy and everything like that. So things typically get busier towards spring and summer, and then they start winding down for fall and winter. So it's kind of on a per quarter, per season basis. But right now, I would say there's not anything immediately open, but possibly, Q1, Q2, depending on, when permits get approved and things can get started.
Yeah.
Might be new positions that open up and things like that. So
Yeah. And do you know what that would be? What positions? Just like management,
probably
I
just
guess?
like admin, administrative roles, such as support, like with procurement and coordination and things like that, and probably additional management roles too as well, like a assistant construction manager or project manager or things like that. So, but again, it depends on the workflow and how things go about. But that's typically where most help is needed, for the most part. So
Yeah. That's good, man. Do you have any goals of like expanding from Houston, or do you just want to stay here in Houston, or any commercial, like anything new?
open to it, but for the most part, most of our relationships with our contractors, vendors, and trades are all here in the Houston area. And as you would know, like going to a different market, you kind of got to reestablish all that. And for a GC, it can take time. And, taking on a project, you kind of don't want to trial and error new crews, just because it's gonna lead to more possible points of failure or unsuccessful projects. So, I mean, I'm open to it, possibly relocating to another market depending on a project or opportunity that may come up. But for the foreseeable future, I see myself being here in Houston. I've had a few people reach out about stuff over in Dallas or San Antonio or Austin, but typically I just refer those out to the other builders I know in those areas, and kind of just I would rather pass on that referral or connection to that person that already has all that set up than me take on a project and I'm overstretching myself or not able to execute at a high level based on not having the right crews, the right contractors, or trying out the wrong guys, and now things go wrong and so on. So definitely open to it, and just looking for the right opportunity to where it makes sense. And in terms of commercial, I mean, primarily majority of my experience and prior relevant work experience has been residential. We have done a few commercial remodels here in Houston. So same thing, we're open to it. It just depends on the project and how things are all set up and what needs to be done. So
Yeah, it's hard to leave something that you're like already, what do you call it? Like you're like this is like your craft, right? Like you're mastering this thing.
correct.
Like it's hard to kind of leave this thing and then like go, like you're saying, try and never or something new over here.
Correct.
Unless it's like a no brainer, right? That you're gonna.
Yeah. But you can't be scared of change or
Yeah,
you
for
can't be
sure.
scared of putting yourself in new environments. But at the same time, you also gotta make sure it's pretty calculated. That way, there's a higher chance of success
Yeah, for
compared to just throwing yourself out there and hoping for the best.
sure. Yeah,
Especially in construction when you have to complete projects at a high level. You got to make sure that everything's all lined up and set up for success prior. So
yeah. Cool, man. Hey, well, as we're wrapping this up, can you just tell the people watching and listening where they can find you if they have any questions or just want to see your content?
yeah, definitely. So I would say easiest way to get in contact with me would be through Instagram. I could be reached at Alley the Builder, which is ALLEY the Builder, and also on LinkedIn too as well through my name Aliun Jai, which is ALIOUNE, last name Jai, NDIAYE. And looking forward to talking to y'all soon and providing as much value as I can.
Yeah, cool. Just last question. So if there's somebody new that wants to get in construction, they don't have any experience in construction, but they like they want to build houses, right? That's their thing. They like to see the, like you're saying, like from just a piece of grass, to create a home or an office or whatever. What advice do you have for them to get started in this journey that they don't know nothing about?
Yeah, I would definitely say just try and make as many connections as possible. Meet as many people in the relevant field as you can. Like we mentioned earlier, Instagram, getting started on places like that, Facebook, Instagram, so LinkedIn, just mainly all these social media platforms to connect with people that are actively doing things like that. And then also just trying to learn as much information as possible. And then at that point, you can better position yourself to kind of take advantage of the opportunities available in that field. And then you can also kind of figure out if this is something you want to pursue further, or, maybe you get into construction and realize, hey, I actually like real estate better than construction. And now you can pivot into that. But, by not being exposed to people in that field and not being in that environment, you wouldn't know that. So, yeah, definitely networking goes a long way, like, how we met through Instagram. And, just staying consistent and having a plan. So,
yeah, sounds good, man. Hey, well, appreciate you coming on.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me, and looking forward to catching up again soon.
Yes, sir. Peace.
All righty. Thank you.